Kalimera, kalispera, kalinichta. No matter where in this wild, wacky, and sometimes wonderful world you might be, thank you for making the Highbury squad part of your day. If you're still watching the Aston Villa v Liverpool game, I mean, you should be tuning in. But it's Monday. It's a new week. It's a blank canvas. Big Ben is chiming. Is this going to happen? Let's talk about it.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.
Tell you, the last couple shows I've done have been an absolute horror show. Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Squad Central. Joining me once again, one of your favourites, ex-Luton Town manager, Mr. Paul Buckle in the house.
Afternoon, Soph.
How's it going?
Good. I'm just so pleased for you.
So, for those listening on replay, and many of you will later, the show's a bit later tonight, I wanted to do the show deliberately after this Aston Villa v Liverpool game. Because we could have done all the hype beforehand, not knowing the score, and then the game would have come and, would have been a negative result for us. Because I've always felt, Paul, that if the game is going to be relevant at Tottenham tomorrow night, that Liverpool absolutely had to win today. So here we are. When I left the match, and for those listening on the audio platform, this is all after the fact, but we're live right now and talking about it. Is it still 3-1, everyone? They're going to let me know. By the way, Paul, I may have a bit of a delay. I've got technical issues. I've got all sorts of issues, but we'll just keep chiming on. I have no idea if you heard any of that. Paul, as a manager, how furious would you have been with Leon Bailey or Watkins? Or is it Leon Bailey you would have been furious with? Because it's 3-2. Oh my gosh, it's 3-2. How furious would you have been with that front two?
I wouldn't have been happy with Bailey. And I have no idea. I'd love to know what Bailey's trying to say to Ollie Watkins, because Bailey checks up knowing that he's in an offside position and then puts the burners on again when I don't know who the player is alongside himself, but he's in a just as great position as he is, almost identical, to run onto the ball and slide it across for Watkins. In the end, it gets pulled back. He's offside, and it's cost them. I'd be absolutely fuming, because for me, that's Bailey's fault. I mean, he knows he's offside. He checks his run, he almost stops, and then thinks, oh no, maybe I'm not offside, and then he's having a go at Ollie Watkins. I have no idea what he was saying. Watkins must have said something to annoy him, because he went on for about 30 seconds. But yeah, I wouldn't have been happy with that.
Oh my goodness. Alex, welcome. Finally live today. I like that. And by the way, squaddies, I lose my manners when Super Kev isn't here. At ease. Welcome to each and every one of you. I've been flashing up your names in the house. And of course, make sure you listen to our Chief Like Officer, Tammy Steels. Hit that like button. No way is it 3-3. You're just joshing with me, aren't you? Come on. I knew I should have started immediately after the game. Please don't tell me. Is it? Oh my God, it's 3-3.
Is it 3-3?
Oh, is it? We're behind a little bit, Tony. Is it 3-3? It's not a joke. It's 3-3. Okay, this is still not a disaster, is it? At 3-3, Paul. It's not a disaster.
No. It's not a disaster as long as it finishes that way. How long's left?
How long's left, everyone? Let me know how long is left. And by the way, I'm not sure what's happening with the lighting today, but it's very bright in here. It's almost like if you had a migraine, you'd need to wear your shades kind of day. Please don't tell. It's 3-3 in the 89th minute, Paul. And squaddies, remember to hit the like button. Wow. Unbelievable. I bet that place went nuts. I'm going to have to rewind it and watch it. Spurs can't catch Villa. That's true. Yeah. No. Why? I thought if they drew, Tom Hanks is going crazy. Damn it. He's probably looking for Wilson. That's why. It's a bit of a disaster because Spurs can't fight for top four now. Yeah, I wasn't sure. I saw Rebecca kind of talk about it before, and I've become all discombobulated. But still, wow,
Yeah,
talk about
yeah.
burst our bubble right there.
No. That light is the football god shining on you, Soph. I'm telling you. Don't worry. Tottenham are going to do you a favour. The manager won't allow it. I listened to his interview. The manager's interview. I don't know if you gooners want to listen in. If you want one manager to be in charge against City in this game for Arsenal, it's him.
So I did hear his soundbite. Tell us a little bit more about what he said, because I think he's sick and tired of. Oh my God, Liverpool just had a goal chalked off as well. This is nuts. Live. This isn't a watch along. This isn't a watch along, by the way, guys. It feels like one. Just keep feeding it in. Keep feeding it in. Those listening on replay are like, yeah, so if we know what happened. But he seems to be really over the questions about Tottenham laying down their swords in front of Manchester City. You've been a manager. You've been in massive games as a player and a manager, Paul. And Robbie Earl was talking about it on the show with Rebecca yesterday. He's like, I'd find it really hard to believe if a professional footballer or a team went out there with that mindset.
Without a doubt. I mean, they're putting the Spurs shirt on. There'll be a packed house. You're up against the top players, and this is the manager's words. I mean, the question was, a lot of the Tottenham fans want you to lose this game, and he was furious, wound him up. He said, who, what percentage, 10%, 20%, and he caught the reporter out. I mean, obviously not what the reporter means, but no, look, once everyone's in the stadium, the players are there. As an individual first, so if you're going up against a Grealish or you're going up against a De Bruyne, you want to have a decent game. And I think that the Tottenham team, is not certain for next year. So I think they're fighting for their places as well with this new manager. So I don't see the manager going anywhere. So I think there's an opportunity for them to show that they're good enough to go and compete with the individuals that City have got. And he'll want to go up against Pep as the manager. And absolutely, as professionals, you've got a job to do. And the worst feeling in the world is losing. What I would say is, if you look at it, I was thinking, Tottenham, it'd be great if Tottenham have something to go for. I get it. I do get that bit. The attention turns to them not doing their local rivals a favour. But at the same time, there is something to be said for playing with a bit of freedom, Soph, as well. And I think that Tottenham team could be dangerous playing with freedom.
Yeah, I thought what you're saying, what Robbie said, is very interesting. The other thing I said to you a couple of weeks ago, Paul, was there's something about players playing in front of Pep Guardiola. It's kind of like they want to show off in front of the teacher. Do you think there's merit in that?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think there's so many different angles to it. But look at the stadium. I know you goodness won't want to say it's a great stadium. It is a great stadium.
We call it the toilet bowl.
Yeah, that's right. But I tell you what, if you can't look forward to playing in that, get out of professional football. So I think it's going to be fantastic. It's a huge game which Tottenham are going to play their part in, and it's up to them. What part do they want to play? And if they can produce a top performance, I still believe that that they'll leave the door open for Arsenal on the last day.
There's also another team in this that we keep forgetting about, which is West Ham. I mean, so here's a message. Oh, I didn't bring my phone. Don't have my phone, so I can't read you the message. This is how discombobulated I am today. I'm in a bit of a tizzy. But basically, a friend of mine and a couple of my cousins wrote, by the way, Paul, I got 4 invitations today to join the Facebook Tottenham Till I Die fan groups. And my mate Jack said, they got a 3-3 up there with Ben Davies and Emerson Royale, and that the record against them is generally good. And he didn't feel good about that. He'd normally feel good about that. But there are certain teams that have that kind of thing over you. And Tottenham definitely have a thing with Manchester City. And you've been in that moment as a manager right now. I mean, Ange, he doesn't talk tactics much according to Eric Dyer in training. But is he saying to them, look, we could do these guys. We've done them before. We've shown that we can do them before. Forget about Arsenal. Forget about what's happening over there. We're Tottenham Football Club, and we have to play a game and try and win a Premier League game here.
As I said, I think this guy's driven. I think this guy's a proven winner. You know, what he did at Celtic and stuff. So look, he's still... They've not had a good run, Tottenham, right? And he will be looking at it as an opportunity to really lay a marker down as the manager of Tottenham. If they come out of that with a really good performance, a draw, or even better, a win, that's going to elevate. That's going to elevate him immediately. Immediately after the game, yes, some people will be saying, where's that performance been of late? But he'll know it's there, and he'll want to show that. He won't want Manchester City coming and steamrolling them. And I do think that in the past games, nobody has really asked a question of them, have they? No one's really put some doubt in City's mind. I mean, I think they dodged a bullet against Forest with how many they missed. So, again, I'm going to stick to my guns with it and say they'll come out firing, and they've got enough in their team, if they're at it, to cause City problems. I got no sound there with you, Soph.
There's because you know why, Paul? They're sending me messages, right? It's a corner, and then there's a penalty claim, and there's all this type of stuff, and I'm on mute. Yes, thank you, everybody. And they're bombarding me with all sorts of different messages, and so I just need to stop reading the chat box for a minute. Hit the like button. Right, let's get into some stuff here with Paul as well. Manchester United 0, Arsenal 1. I want to talk about individuals more than the game, although I do want to talk about something which I think is just shocking. I watched it to the very end, and no, you can't see it. I don't know where I left it. I watched it to the very end. Are you shocked by just what a dump Old Trafford has become? That leak, it's not even a leak. It's unbelievable, Paul. How have they let this happen?
That's another great question. I don't know. I mean, there's so much wrong with the football club, inside and outside. It's frightening, really. I mean, I do think now they're slowly but surely getting into better hands. But it's going to have to be one extreme makeover outside and inside of the club. I mean, even, let's be honest, Saka could have really hurt himself. And from a selfish standpoint, I was worried about England when he went down and he put his arm up. That drop-off on the side, if you've ever been there, that drop-off on the side's unbelievable. I held the playoff final there. I was in with Torquay against Stevenage, so we got a real close look at it. And obviously you're at Old Trafford, and you're thinking, amazing, what an amazing stadium. But actually, that drop off the side is really dangerous. I mean, and I'm pleased that Saka didn't actually hurt himself. I thought he was going to talk about Casemiro coming out. I mean, he could have come out quicker if he was crawling, couldn't he? That was like Sunday morning football, that.
So I wanted to ask you about that too, because I'm sure as a manager and also as a teammate, I mean, I would be absolutely fuming. He looked like he cared less. And we talked to Adam Stott from Forever United TV last week, and he was discussing the apathy and how broken Manchester United are. And the fact that what we're seeing on the pitch is one thing, but he was talking about issues in training, obviously the dressing room, just super broken. And as a manager, I'm sure you know and you can see when you've lost a dressing room and when a dressing room is with you, Paul.
Yeah. Oh, I've had it. 100%. I won't name the club. I've had it. And it's not an excuse. It's almost impossible to fix it. So, I mean, Once you've got players in there that don't care about the club, about what's happened, you're in real trouble, because it's so, you're damned if you do, damned if you cut players away. You know, players can be at times, you know, a little bit weak, should I say, in terms of being drawn or dragged into someone else's misery or someone else's problems. You know, I think McTominay nailed it, didn't he, a few months back when he come out and said what he said, and everyone was thinking, oh, that's a bit strong what he said. But McTominay's somebody that's really, I think, he's been a shining light in that squad, McTominay, and he got some stick, and he was one of the ones they were going to get rid of. I mean, you know, he's almost like a Nicky Butt type player from him, you know, but scoring more goals. He said it. He called it out. He called out that, you know, it wasn't right. And when you're a younger player or any type of player, if you want to do it right and you're part of something like that, it's a killer. But yeah, I mean, Casemiro coming out like that. It's not even in the last few minutes of the game or where he might be tired. I actually immediately thought, probably like everybody else, it was offside. You know, what's going on here? You know, and then to see the replay. Oh, I text Bex on that one. I said that shot, that's reflective of United right there. Shocking.
And I thought after that goal, we were texting back and forth. I don't care about our performance yesterday. I don't care about the performance. And I said this to you 3 weeks ago. I could care less how we perform. I just want 3 points now. That's all I care about. And I think by default, after that goal went in, we played to their level. They are so bad. A lot of people are like, oh, this is the best they've played in a long time. We didn't even feel like we had to get out of second gear, Paul, at all.
Yeah. I used that on a text, second gear. I used that. I said they're in second gear. I've got it. I'll send it to you, honestly. Arsenal controlled the game. They almost let United, you know, they showed them into areas that United, you know, were lazy. I mean, United, as I said, you know, Saka was incredible and Trossard in doubling up. So I think that was key, that they weren't going to let one individual do something special like cut in and get a strike on goal. It was all crosses, the lazy crosses, which were just eaten up, you know, by Gabriel and Saliba, just ate those crosses up. And that they just cleared. The route to goal for Man United was never going to work. And I thought that Arsenal controlled it bit by bit, you know, and I thought Graham Lasseau really was top drawer on his analysis of the game. He said Arsenal don't need to, you know, leave counter-attacks open. I didn't see United counter-attack once. So Arsenal, every time Arsenal attacked, so if they attack safe, there was always a safety element to it. And they got their goal, and they did so many things right. From a tactical point of view, watching the game, I just thought I could never see United scoring. And yeah. I was gonna have a bit of banter with you and say boring Arsenal.
But we were. Yeah, and you were reassuring me. You were like, this is so controlled. This is brilliant. And I was like, it's not. I think the team, not that it's not, because it was, but I was thinking from the fan point of view, and the team are ready. What I loved seeing was this team are ready for the 1-0 boring when you have to just get a result moments, but the fans are not. I mean, and my WhatsApp groups were going off yesterday just through the stress levels. I don't think any of us thought we're gonna lose the game. But you know, the Fergie time is definitely over. However, Adam was telling us and talking to us about the only thing Manchester United have going for them this season is these wonder goals. And I kept thinking about that in the back of my head. Garnacho, he was talking, of course, Fernandes wasn't playing, but Mainu, you know, they've won goal of the month, I think, more than any other team this season. And the maturity in the team and what you saw was a very controlled, non-panicked Arsenal, correct?
It was. Every time Arsenal never took any liberties in the game against the ball. And like I say, on them outsides where Garnacho and these type of flair players, you know, Anthony, when they come on, they can hurt you. So they don't need always somebody else to make a run, or they can cut in and jig. But Saka was always there. Saka, and when they, you know, I think he come off, didn't he, when Mikel started to change things. I mean, what a selfless job as a winger, as a flair winger, as somebody or striker like that to just go in there. That for me showed the togetherness of Arsenal. And you only know, not only is it managers, of course fans know, but our managers know the worth of that. When you got that side of it away at Old Trafford, your game, you take your game out of it, your real game, and you do a job for the team, and that's what they did. That, especially in the wide areas, which stopped any type of worldy goal coming in. And Arsenal really knew where the ball was coming in from. They controlled every aspect of the game, and even at the end, they didn't have the luxury of taking it in the corners or anything. United did continue to attack, and you must have been sitting there thinking, "Oh no, come on, blow the whistle." But no, I never thought it was in doubt.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad I had you to reassure me on the other end of a text message. Right. Let's talk about kind of the shining moments in a game where no one really, other than I think 3 players, had a shining match. And the one that I want to start off with is how I led with the photo is William Saliba. He just continues. He's been, a lot of Arsenal fans feel like Gabriel's had a better season than Saliba. But when Saliba, I don't know, in these big matches, in these big moments, he's really super stepped up. I'm not saying that I don't agree with fans that Gabriel has had a better season overall. But when you look at what he's achieved, man of the match at the Etihad, man of the match at Liverpool, man of the match at Manchester United, you look at his stats yesterday, and, he look at the tackles won, first. His numbers are ridiculously good. The way he controls the tempo coming out of the back, the way he reminds me a little bit of Rio Ferdinand, the elegant type defender, the beauty and the beast. We've got Vidic and we've got Ferdinand. Those are the 2 that popped into my head first. Squaddies, don't at me for it. The relationship that he has with Gabriel is amazing. Are we seeing a generational defender here, Paul?
Yeah, you are. And he's a top defender. I mean, those stats don't lie. He's in the right place at the right time, Sophie, and he reads the game so well. The other thing I like about him is he does know when to clear it, and he does know when to take a touch and play out. His decision making is phenomenal, and his concentration levels must be like sky high. So all of those things as an individual, plus that relationship that he has with Gabriel, is fantastic for Arsenal. And I think the whole of the Arsenal back 4 yesterday, Tomiyasu and White, it looked, I mean, they protected Raya so well again, didn't they? For another clean sheet. Real understanding. Their distances are so good. Laterally, vertically, the distances they keep with the midfield. They shuffle across really well. But, yeah, the defending of crosses from Saliba and 1v1s. I mean, in the last game, I thought Arsenal were a little bit guilty of giving silly free kicks away. And they cleaned that up. I mean, you can see that both of them like to front foot defend, which I'm a great advocate of that. Because if you're in midfield and the defenders keep dropping off and won't come in, it leaves big spaces. So when strikers are coming off, they go with them all the way. And I think that's a big part of Arsenal's game. And they trust themselves. They trust that they can go in there and try and win it. And they also trust that, if it's Saliba going in there, that Gabriel's covering him behind. So really good stuff, yeah.
Yeah, he's I wanted to touch on this with you too, because why is it, I think Cannavaro was the last defensive player to win a Ballon d'Or, and a lot of our listeners poo-poo the Ballon d'Or. I get it, it's the Thierry Henry syndrome when it comes to Ballon d'Or, and a lot of other things as well, maybe Messi winning earlier this year. And in the Messi-Ronaldo era, I get it. It was divided between the 2 of them. However, Maldini, Baresi, you could talk about, I know that he played for Chelsea, but John Terry was a great defender. You go back to the Liverpool 80s team, the Manchester United players I mentioned. Why is it so rare for a defender to be labeled the best in the world? Now, listen, I'm not saying Saliba is the best player in the world, but I think he's had a better season than Mbappe. I think that he's had a better season than a lot. Haaland, I know he scored a lot of goals, but why can't it be equal? Why can't his defensive record stand right alongside a striker's record? I know it's a
Mm.
sexier position, but to me right now, that guy plays in any team, every week, anywhere on the planet.
Mm. No, you make a great point, and I think John Stones comes into that. The way he's evolved at City, he's a really complete defender. Stones, I mean, again, touched on it before. These managers like Mikel and Pep and that they're improving our England players, so I'm delighted. But no, I think it's the way the game is. So if I think that all the eyes are always on the guys that get the goals or make the goals, it's just the way it is. It's a shame because it should be recognised more for sure. Because the fact that we're talking about it and the quality, the skill levels and the quality needed to be a top defender, sometimes it goes under the radar, but not to the managers and sometimes the professionals in this world. It's
Hmm.
priceless to get a defender
Yeah.
like them too.
And Rob, I hear you. And a lot of you are like, what about Gabriel? What about Gabriel? We've lauded Gabriel on this show. We've talked about how their partnership, and also when it's ignored, we've mentioned Benjamin White as well. And really, those three are like the bouncers at the club. You can't get into David Raya until you get through these three bouncers. And we have
Mm.
lauded every single one of them on this show. And Gabriel's been immense. There's just that sometimes the way Saliba plays, the tackle that he made, I think it was in the second half. There's just certain moments where his touch and his overall game just smacks world class. Gabriel, to me, Paul, is like a marriage of an old school defender with kind of the modern day vibe. Is that a
Mm.
fair assessment?
I think it is. I think it's hard. It's really difficult to separate the two of them. At times, they're almost identical at times, the way they play. And it comes down to their decision making. The first thing in football is the decision. Before you even think about, what technique to use in the execution, what decision do I make? And as a defender, you know, I always think that they are defenders, especially them three you spoke about with Ben White. I mean, he's obviously converted across to right back, but they just look like they want to defend. And that,
Mm,
in a lot of teams now, as that sort of has gone away a little bit, the way the game's really gone now about playing out back and making angles. But when it comes down to it, that many, was it 18 clean sheets now? Arsenal. Is it
say that
18
again,
clean
Paul. Sorry.
is it 18 clean sheets now for Arsenal?
Yes, yes, yes. 37 games, 18 clean sheets, and I have the visual to prove it as well. Yeah, it's incredible. And,
Yeah.
I just think that our defensive record this season has been unbelievable. And we've made incremental improvements across the board. And it's just been an absolute joy to watch. Okay. I'm gonna move on from yeah, he does love defending. He totally loves defending, and you could
Yeah.
see it. And yeah, and Saliba was player of the match, and I think rightly so. And had everyone in his pocket, including this guy who was supposedly gonna take the Premier League by storm. But that's not fair because he really hasn't had the service. Right. Another player that I think is slowly becoming a cult hero at the Arsenal, Trossard, comes up with another big goal. I think he scored against every big six team this season. The pass from Havertz, perfection. Thank you, Casemiro. Yes. However, they still have to get into the positions. They still have to make that play. The two of them together, I think, brilliant. But Trossard, for me, I've got a question for you, Paul. Is Trossard just having a better season, or is he a better player than Martinelli?
He's a different player to Martinelli. When I was texting you and saying that I felt it was time for Martinelli to come on and be direct, the longer that game went on, I didn't feel that Trossard could counter and be as direct as Martinelli. But what Trossard does, especially in deeper areas, he looks after the ball really well. He's technically excellent. I think Graham Massot said that again. He was spot on, in my opinion. But But I like Martinelli, and I think, but it's another great thing, taking Trossard off and putting Martinelli on, or starting with Martinelli and bring Trossard on, and also looking at the opposition, which we touched on last week, which player's better suited. Yeah, they're very different players, but certainly Trossard can finish as well, was in the right place at the right time. I think that's another important part of playing in them wide areas, is when, Rice decides that he's going to go out to Saka, and Saka's now looking like he's going to do something, Trossard's in there, and vice versa with Saka. I sometimes think Saka can really arrive more in the middle of the goal, to get them goals, to be inside the fullback when the ball's crossed, because they're both small, so anything stood up on the back really is not going to be effective. So, yeah, I think adding the goals that Trossard's done to the assists and what he's giving defensively now. I mean, you hang your hat on him as a manager now. If you're looking to make changes, especially away from home, it'll be in them areas. So where you'll have your doubts, but I thought them two were exceptional against the ball.
As a manager, Paul, because we talked last week a little bit about Mikel Arteta, managers being ruthless. A player does well for you. We've seen Mikel bench him. He doesn't do well. He's kind of, I'm not going to say ostracized, but he may not get a game. We haven't seen Kivior really since the Bayern Munich match. What do you do? What do you think Mikel's thinking? Like, is he think when a player like Trossard gets those kinds of, because they're not just any goals. They are very important goals that he scored for us this season. It's hard for a manager to then switch back to a player that, yes, we've fallen in love with and yes, has an immense talent, but hasn't had a great season. Is Trossard now going to, if you're the manager and you're thinking like Mikel, is Trossard his guy now?
Yeah. Yeah, I think there comes a point where players are competing against each other and you just want one of them to break away. It makes your job so much easier, because Martinelli will know. He won't be, very doubtful he'll be knocking on Mikel's door when Trossard's playing like that against the ball and scoring goals and affecting the game, with the ball. That's what you want. That's what you're after. You want the players, and again, I always point it at those wider areas because it can be a graveyard shift. There's a reason why they're the players that always get taken off, because if it's done right, unless you're a manager that says, okay, we're all right, we're just going to go 1-for-1 all over the field and you don't have to come back and double up. It's a really hard position to play, and it's a selfless position sometimes. But it seems to me, and I've said this before, that Mikel wants that and he demands that. And I think now he's getting it from Trossard. And it's about trust. It's about, you look at it with Saka and White, you look at it now and they're in unison. Saka goes forward, White's behind him or overlapping or underlapping. The ball's now back in the Arsenal defending third, and there's Saka back in front of him. It's these units and these relationships that maybe that Mikel couldn't get to earlier in the season. Then that chemistry that actually now is really helping his team selections.
Yeah, it's he's matured as well. I mean, we talked about the maturity and the evolution of Mikel. We'll definitely do a larger assessment next season. I've another one for you. This might rile some folks up. I love Trossard. I do think, this season for me, if you're looking at his performances overall, he's got that Podolski vibe about him. Podolski didn't do as much at Arsenal as I think Trossard is doing in terms of impact. And maybe that's because we're challenging for a title, which makes it a lot different. But he has a little bit of a cult hero status in the modern Arsenal when I'm thinking of players like that. I think Trossard really has the opportunity to become that. And for me this season, if I'm asked that, he is definitely one of those players that is rising, a fan favorite, but he's delivering as well. Okay, another player that continues to deliver, he was the supplier of the goal. And here's a question for everyone, Paul, and one for you. As you know, I've been Team Havertz from the start of the season. Okay, is he now one of the signings of the season in all of Europe?
Well, I think he's proven a lot of people wrong, including myself, because he was just caught I just thought he was caught in between everything. I couldn't understand what type of player he was, how he was affecting games. But even now, just his control, we spoke about it before. He looks confident. It looks like the players are delighted that it's come off for him. So he must have an impact in the dressing room. And also, Soph, as well, he's a great out ball. So, again, you saw when United decided to push up the field and press high, Ray went long and it don't come back. He gives nobody a free hit. When you deliver a ball up there, and we know Ray can, find people, but balls down the sides in the air, he's got his body, drops down, Arsenal pick the second ball up. That's another thing that he's really brought when he's playing up there, highest up there for Arsenal, is a great out, especially in these pressured games now where you can't always take that risk. You don't need to. So I think his goal return, his assist again yesterday, he's looking the real deal up there, isn't he? I mean, he's looking as comfortable up there as Rice is looking in the middle now.
Yeah. And I think that at the start, there was so much apathy from a certain section of the fans. We've talked about that. I think he's won people. He's very likable. I think when he first came, people thought he was unlikable. And that's the Chelsea effect. But he's become exceptionally likable. He's so cool. He's not he's not interested in fame. He doesn't want to be on the cover of magazines. He does his own thing. And I just adore him. I've totally fallen in love with Kai Havertz, and I'm so happy for him. If there's a player that I am happy for this season, it is Kai Havertz. There is no doubt about that. 65 million, Paul. Go on.
Yeah, let me ask you a question, Seth. Why did you like him so much then when he wasn't producing goals and maybe assists? What did you like about him?
So, two things. I had watched, because of some of the work I was doing previously, I had watched him play when he was in Bundesliga. I also really highly respect Kevin Hatchard, European football expert, who's been on this show a couple of times. And we've done a few shows where I ask him, which players in Bundesliga do you think like we should be keeping our eye out for? And he's always been a massive Havertz. He thinks Havertz was, when he was at playing in Bundesliga, he thought he was a generational type of talent. And that's how highly he rated him. When he went to Chelsea, I felt that he never really had the stability that he needed. They've got a revolving door when it comes to managers, when it comes to players. And I just felt like, even despite the adversity of being the jack of all trades and master of none there, I don't care what anyone says, when you score the winning goal in a Champions League final as well, there's something about you. And he's turned up in the biggest moments. And I always felt like everyone was expecting him to be this goal machine when he came. And I just felt like, I think a friend of the show, Harry Symeou, a few other people have called him the Swiss Army knife. And I always felt like a player like that in the modern game, you're loving Jurriën Timber, who's a bit of a Swiss Army knife as well, but you've never seen him kick a ball for the Arsenal. And Kai Havertz, who's proven it, and also has played the games, and you can kind of see the quality. Thought his touch was always good. His technical ability was always good. I just felt like he's the type of player that needed to settle in. And those are the reasons why I always believed in him from the get-go.
And settling in is part of what we spoke about before. And I'm seeing all those messages come up about how hard he works. I agree totally. But I think finding his position now is really important. I like him where he's playing now. He comes back anyway. A couple of times, I was like, is that Havertz back there? Like, he's so far back. He's not afraid of coming back to help the team, and and that work rate with all the Arsenal players is there now.
I think you bring up a brilliant point, Paul, and Ian just wrote that, have you heard him talk about how hard Mikel's worked with him? But that's the other thing, that when fans were just waiting for him to come in to be this prolific goal scorer, others could see what he was doing in a Mikel system with the work rate and the tracking back and what he does off the ball. It's similar to what Jesus did early in his first season when he came to the Arsenal. And that's pretty massive. And there's a lot to be said about that, because you just can't come in and you were talking about Saka and Trossard yesterday. You were texting me. You were like, these dudes, these guys, try like the work rate they are putting in defensively and off the ball is unbelievable. And that shows you that this is a well drilled, well coached team that isn't going to fall off the cliff. They were expecting us to fall off the cliff the year we didn't qualify for the Champions League. They expected us to do the same this season, having missed out on winning the league last season. But when you see all the pieces, Paul, this isn't a team that's going away anytime soon, is it?
It's not. It's not. And again, I'm getting flashbacks of the game where Arsenal didn't really go pressing high as much. They didn't go chasing the game. That lower block is not always easy. It's not always easy for those wide players and even Havertz and that, because you haven't got that tempo in your legs. It's more about getting yourself into spaces, and protecting and then pressing. So they actually showed real maturity as well, Soph, in terms of being able to handle that occasion, take on board what Mikel, how we wanted to play the game, get ahead, control it, make the right decisions, but really wanting to defend. I mean, you can be told as a player what to do and take it on board, but I think they really want to do it. And I think they want to do it in them relationships with, Tomiyasu and Ben White. I think it'd be fascinating to hear what they say. I bet White's loving what Saka's doing in front of him against the ball.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what, Julian? I'm glad you said it. Xhaka. Everyone keeps going on about, the Xhaka thing. And he had a phenomenal last season. But let's not forget what a lot of Arsenal fans were saying about him before that season. I think for me, Havertz and Barry, and I love fans who say he's proved me wrong. Just like I say Mikel Arteta's proved me wrong. I want to be wrong so our team is right and successful. And that's what it is at the end of the day. Okay, we're going to get out of here in just a few minutes. By the way, if anyone's feeling dirty, we don't have any soap, but I am going to give away some Highbury squad coins this week. And we've got a great lineup coming up for you this week as well. We've got James Green from Sky Sports who's coming on. Tomorrow, we're going to do a show at 6:00 with myself, Harry, Tom Canton, and Dan Potts. And then on Wednesday, I've got a brilliant show with Harriet Pryor from Sky Sports, and also with Kwaku, who does a lot of stuff for TalkSport and Sky Sports as well. We've got we're going to try and go live every single day this week. So just keep listening out. And of course, we've got Paul in the house as well. Paul, is there a final twist to all of this?
I hope I'm right. I really do. I actually really want Mikel Arteta to win the Premier League now. Him, because I think he has matured. I think he's really understanding the game. And again, I know what it's like in your early years as a manager. It is a steep learning curve. So I don't care what level it is. It's dealing with the same problems. And I think he's really settled down now. And I think that was an indication yesterday of how he's changed and evolved and adapted to what's needed, and there's different ways of getting over the line. And I think it will leave, I don't know what the stats would have looked like in the running, but certainly Arsenal cutting that pitch in half and might save their legs for the weekend, which will be a difficult game. And again, I think there's a twist. Who knows? Was it Moyes' last game as well? So I think these next two games, the pressures, what you've done is you've just stuck the pressure bang on them again. Because I actually think again, City would have been thinking, this is where Arsenal fall over. This is where Arsenal fall over. And it ain't happened. It hasn't happened.
It's I know there's some people think the title was lost against Villa, right? Listen, until someone tells you the maths doesn't make sense, it's all very possible. That's all I'm going to say. And we're going to go live before the game tomorrow. You're not going to want to miss that. But Paul, before I do that, I want to know if you were a good boy yesterday. So I got something to play for everyone. Now, remember, every single time we do a show with Paul on Monday Madness, I want to do stuff so you get to know him a little bit better. Last week, we showed some pictures of him playing for Brentford. And also, I think we showed a Torquay picture. Was it Torquay? No. Was it Cheltenham? Anyway, we showed a whole bunch of pictures.
Right.
So
Exeter.
I'm gonna play this and see
Happy
how
Mother's
you
Day,
did
first of
yesterday.
all.
Thank you.
Happy Mother's
Hold
Day.
on one second. Why isn't
Happy
it
Mother's
playing?
Day, first
Right.
of all.
Thank you.
Please tell us, what would be your ideal Mothering Sunday?
Ooh, non-football question to start things off. Mothering Sunday, by the way, is such an English
Very
phrase.
English.
Nobody in America knows what that
Mothering
means.
Sunday.
Mothering Sunday, that's what we call it. Amazing. My ideal would be a sleep in where you actually do sleep in. You know when you can sleep in and then you never do because like that's life. An actual sleep in where like it's like 9. And oh my God, it's 9. I've slept till 9. Amazing. That'd be amazing. And then I think breakfast in the garden with animals, children, husband, the whole lot. And then I think a nap is in order, right? A little nap. I mean, mid-afternoon nap.
Footy
right?
on the TV, maybe?
Maybe a little bit of football on TV. Then I nap, probably during the football. And then maybe a slice of cake and some tea. Maybe a walk. I mean, this sounds amazing.
Amazing.
Haven't had one of these for quite a number of times. And then maybe somebody else cooking dinner. Husband cooks dinner. And early night.
Is he watching?
This sounds amazing.
Amazing.
Take note for, I don't know when, another day.
Happy Mother's Day.
Thank you, Tim.
Let's get back to football.
I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that. Right. So one, she was on the East Coast, right, the studios to do the games. I took her out on the Thursday night, so we went out for a steak, me, her, and Teddy. But did you see the order then? What she said? She said animals, kids, and then Paul. that now think what Father's Day is like in our house, so right? And yeah, I mean, I do my best. I do my best.
I love it. Brilliant stuff. Trying to relax you guys because it's a big week in football. And I just thought that was adorable. And I thought you'd pick up on the, because when Rebecca came on the show after she interviewed Arteta, she said to us, here's the order of his life, right? Arsenal, the wife. So she's literally just pulled a Mikel Arteta. Brilliant stuff. Oh gosh. Okay, Paul, thank you so much for your time. Follow Paul at @buckle_Paul. And he'll be back with us as well next week. We're going to do a season review too, and it's going to be good stuff. There's a lot of good stuff coming. We go live again tomorrow. Please don't forget to send your love for Super Kevin Campbell. He's always listening, and he's missing you guys a lot. And hopefully we'll have Super Kev back soon. In the meantime, everyone, see you live here at 6 o'clock with some of your favorite podcasters at E Squaddies. Good night. It's still.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.
You know what? Why not? Let's do this before I go. I feel so dirty, like just thinking that we need them to get a result, so I have to keep doing this. One more time. One more time. Okay, that's it. Good night, everyone. Love you lots. Like Arsenal shots. How about that?